Let's talk about something we all think about, keeping our minds sharp as we get older. What if I told you brain decline wasn't a given? What if it was optional? Well, that's the massive promise behind a company called Tahiro. Today, we're going to put on our investor hats and dig into their plan. Is this a real high-growth opportunity, or is it just wishful thinking? Let's find out.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll get a handle on just how big this brain crisis is. Then, we'll dive into Tahiro's unique tech and their business model. After that, it's the main event, the bull case versus the bear case, before we land on a final verdict. All right, first things first, let's talk about the problem Tahiro is trying to solve. And believe me, it is a huge one. We're all living longer, which is great, but our brain health, well, it's having a tough time keeping up. This has become a serious global challenge. To put a number on it, we're talking about over 50 million people around the world right now dealing with cognitive decline and memory loss. And that number is just climbing, fast. It's not just some abstract statistic. It's practically a silent pandemic. And here's the real kicker. You might think this is an issue for your grandparents, right? Wrong. The science shows this whole process can actually start in our late 20s and 30s. That completely changes the game from treatment to prevention, making this an issue that honestly affects pretty much all of us. So how in the world do you tackle a problem that starts decades before you even notice it? Well, this is where Tahiro comes in. The company was actually started by a founder who saw dementia affect his own family, so this is personal. And they're coming at it with a really science-heavy approach to protecting the brain. Their big answer is a product called Brain Protect. Now, they're not selling this as some kind of miracle cure. Think of it more like a preventative tool. It's designed to support your brain's hardware for the long run, starting today.
Okay, now the science behind this is pretty fascinating. The key ingredient is something called nano-omega-5. It's a super powerful antioxidant they get from pomegranates. But, the real magic isn't just the ingredient, it's how they deliver it. They've got this patented nanotechnology that helps shuttle these compounds across the blood-brain barrier. That barrier is like a super strict bouncer for your brain, and it's incredibly hard to get past. So this tech is a really big deal.
And look, they've got the receipts to back this up. They followed a really methodical three-step research process. They started in a lab, in vitro, and showed it could rescue brain cells under stress. Then they moved to animal studies, where they saw older mice actually had better memory. And, this is crucial, they got these results published in peer-reviewed journals. That adds a layer of scientific credibility that, frankly, most supplements just don't have.
So, a cool idea and some promising science is great, but is it a great business? Let's take a look at how Tahiro is actually planning to get this out of the lab and into the market.
Their go-to-market plan is all about going direct to consumer. This gives them total control over their brand and, more importantly, their relationship with customers. And the engine that makes it all run is a subscription model. For an early-stage company, that kind of predictable recurring revenue is absolute gold.
And you know what? The early signs are really promising. Just look at this. Revenue grew from about $300,000 to almost $500,000 in just 1 year. That's a 60% jump year over year. It shows they're getting some serious traction, even without a massive marketing spend. And behind those revenue numbers, over 700 active subscribers. So this isn't just some concept on a slide. These are hundreds of real people paying for this product month after month. That's proof that there's real demand out there.
Okay, so we've got a massive problem. A company with a scientific solution and some really solid early traction. Let's put on our optimist hats for a second and build the bull case, the argument for why Tahiro could be an absolutely massive success.
It really boils down to 4 key things. First, a massive, and I mean massive, market opportunity. Second, tech that's genuinely different from the competition. Third, a business model that's built to scale. And finally, you've got an impressive team of both scientists and business folks leading the way. And just to give you a sense of the scale we're talking about here, the cognitive health market is on track to hit $40 billion. And that's just part of the even bigger nootropics market. The whole space is growing like crazy. So Tahiro is basically paddling into a huge wave.
But of course, it's never that simple. Every investment has risks, and we have to look at them with our eyes wide open. So now, let's flip the coin and look at the bear case, the very real challenges that could stop Tahiro in its tracks.
And this, right here, is the elephant in the room. What works in a petri dish or even in a mouse does not automatically work in humans. That leap is notoriously difficult, and a lot of promising science dies right there. Without human clinical trials, the product's true effectiveness is still, at the end of the day, a hypothesis. This is absolutely the #1 risk.
Next up, let's look under the financial hood. Yes, that 60% growth is awesome, but it's paired with a pretty low 21% gross margin. To give you some context, a lot of healthy direct-to-consumer brands shoot for 50 or 60%. Combine that with a monthly cash burn of over 23 grand, and you start to see why this fundraising round isn't just for growth, it's for survival.
And on top of all that, you've got other headwinds. The supplement market is insanely competitive. You've always got regulatory question marks and, let's be honest, a lot of consumer skepticism. And of course, there are all the usual risks that come with backing any super early stage company. The road ahead is definitely not a straight line.
Okay, we've seen the exciting potential and we've seen the serious risks. So let's put it all together and try to come to a final verdict on this investment. So if you were thinking about investing, here are the nuts and bolts. The company is raising money at a $15 million valuation before this investment comes in. The price per share is $1.50, and you can get in for as little as $450. For that, you're getting Class B common stock. When you boil it all down, Tahiro is really a classic high-risk, high-reward play. An investment here is a bet on a great team, some really promising science, and a massive trend in preventative health. But you have to be comfortable with the fact that it's also a bet with huge scientific and financial question marks still attached. And that really leaves us with a fundamental question, one that's bigger than just Tahiro. Are we at the beginning of a new chapter where science-backed supplements completely redefine how we age? Or is this whole market ultimately built more on hope than on hard clinical proof? The answer to that question will decide everything for companies like Tahiro and for the investors who decide to take the plunge.